Tonight, looting disgrace. Callous thieves ransack homes in Maribyrnong, leaving residents shattered. Thousands of homes inundated in Shepparton and parts of Mooroopna completely swallowed. Sandbagging at full speed in Echuca, with the Murray set to peak in the next 48 hours. Thousands of dollars down the drain as Rochester businesses lose everything. First on 9, the shameful flaw in Melbourne's home care program. And Aaron Finch rides his luck for a much-needed 50 ahead of the World Cup.
This is Melbourne's 9 News with Peter Hitchener.
Good evening. As if having their lives turned upside down wasn't enough, Maribyrnong residents are tonight dealing with looters. 3 despicable thieves have targeted at least 2 families, stealing valuable possessions that weren't soaked or washed away. Maggie Rayworth with the story.
Targeting the most vulnerable, this looter scoured the worst flood-affected streets. This morning, he stole what little wasn't destroyed from families who've already lost so much.
And I say, how silly this one coming back up with something situation bad. You come and rob something from us.
The thief is suspected of ransacking at least 2 unoccupied homes on Burton Crescent, stealing tens of thousands of dollars worth of personal items, including a power tool from Faraj Gartis and his wife. The offender then fled with 2 others in a blue Ford Territory.
What's wrong with society today where people do this?
But today's show, crews snapped the intruder in action.
When we arrived here in this street, there were 2 men next to a car. Knew instantly that these guys were up to something.
I can't believe there are guys out trying to steal. It's a pretty low act.
During these very difficult times, we see the best of the Victorian spirit, people looking out for each other, people doing quite extraordinary things. And then we see some other behaviour that is really, really poor.
In Maribyrnong, never-ending walls of destroyed possessions, caught up in the rapid rise of floodwaters late last week. The much-loved Angler's Tavern barely recognisable, while homes along the river, precious memories and keepsakes, now rotting hard rubbish.
We were outside last night just putting out photos from photo albums, just having to save neighbours across the road. I'm so sorry.
That's my life. Photo, kids, toys everywhere, cars.
It looks like Bino's family has just moved in, left with the clothes on his back, B's furniture, damp and damaged, now piled up on his nature strip.
The washing machine, this one here, the fridge, the couch, cabinet, TV cabinet.
All gone.
All gone.
Today, Maribyrnong showed the worst, but also the best in people. Victorians flocked to help clean up.
I might not have the biggest muscles, but I'm definitely, fit and able-bodied and going to put my back into it and help as much as I possibly can.
Maribyrnong City Council says it's orchestrating a mass hard rubbish collection. Rotting furniture and belongings like this now stretch for kilometres. The council says removing it won't be a fast process, predicting it may take at least a week.
If we need to do 2 rounds or 3 rounds, we'll do just as such. We're working with the contractors at the moment to make sure that all this hard waste gets collected.
Maggie, you have more from the family targeted by looters.
Pete, I've just received an update from one of the victims of this morning's looters, and they say their bank cards have been used throughout the course of the day. Now, they didn't say how much money has since been used, but it's certainly a very violating feeling for those victims who have already had their houses ransacked this morning. Now, they've since been able to cancel their cards, but those looters, those offenders, are still on the run. Now, there has been somewhat of a reprieve for flood victims this afternoon. The state government has announced that all associated costs involved with flood waste removal will be waived. Now, what that means is that tips operating in local government areas where people have been affected by floods, they will be offering free service to those people. Now, that will be very welcomed for those people, particularly the victims that live on places like Burton Crescent here in Maribyrnong. As you can see, there's hard rubbish that's been built up quite a lot. Now, rubbish like this stretches right across the street and for kilometres back. So, Pete, that effort to clean up is there's a long way to go for people who are cleaning up.
Certainly is. Thank you so much, Maggie. And to the flood emergency in the state's north, where the swollen Goulburn River has cut Greater Shepparton in half, stranding thousands on either side of the Mooroopna Causeway. Live to Alicia Loxley, who's at Victoria Park. Alicia, it's a tale of two cities.
Oh, it really is, Pete. It's quite extraordinary. The water, it is receding ever so slightly, but this is still very much an unfolding emergency here in Shepparton. It's been quite extraordinary to stand here and see these huge specialised army vehicles moving around flooded streets of Shepparton. Behind us, you can see, perhaps behind me, locals are really making their way around town however they can. It has been a day of rescues here. Dozens have been carried out by local authorities, with thousands of homes either flooded or cut off. And while the disaster has been terrible here in Shepparton, to the west in Mooroopna, the scale of this crisis is far worse. And Adam Hegarty was invited by locals to take a look.
They're not just living with flooding, they're living in it. Mooroopna is simply surreal. Ross Street is now Ross River, with all the destruction that came with it. And yet there's no sweeping away that trademark country charm.
I don't have to water the garden this week.
It's residents like Andrew Ralph who've been boating many to safety. Today he invited us along to assess the damage. Even he still can't believe.
It's not in.
So many remain, determined to wait it out, stuck on their house islands.
He was going to get out yesterday, but where's the high ground now?
Though the sad reality for most is this, a tent city in Echuca, while fellow evacuee Fiona knows she'll return to heartache.
We've seen a couple of photos that have been sent to us, and yeah, it doesn't look good. Probably close to 1 metre.
Whether by boat or canoe, neighbours are their eyes and ears.
Is water in your house? No.
The one real positive people can take out of this right now is it does appear that the water level is starting to drop, but with so much water here, it's going to take a lot of time for it to go, and right now people are still in these homes, stranded with nowhere to go.
No words can describe it. What do you say? What do you say? As I just said, it's surreal until we're driving around in a boat.
She's got about 1 brick to go when it's in her house. So we're pretty lucky.
The town lies west of the Goulburn River, a region where thousands of homes are still inundated or threatened by more forecast flooding. But they're up for it.
Anyway, that's life.
In Mooroopna, Adam Hegarty, 9 News.
Well, here in Shepparton, it is wonderful to say that many residents are thankfully breathing a sigh of relief after the Goulburn River fell 15 centimetres short of its predicted peak. As Penelope Leash reports, that may have saved thousands of homes.
Murky floodwater covering Shepparton streets, up to back doors and further.
Over 23 years in 96 Melbourne Crescent, and we've never seen nothing like this.
Yeah, I come home from Echuca yesterday because I was worried about everything. My mum's at a nursing home and I wanted to come home.
Lucky you did.
A bus stop nearly submerged, front gardens now pools, water pushing under sandbags. Ducks and neighbours sailing past cut off homes, but they're some of the lucky ones.
Awesome lucky. No, daughter's in the north end, she's got about 2 feet of water going through there.
As the water came in, locals came to the aid of Shepparton's streets. But the broken river couldn't be stopped, joining with homes and swallowing fences on Broken River Drive. Water up into windows on the banks of the Goulburn. Road south to Kyella completely cut off, livestock struggling to swim against the tide.
Go on, go on.
Many fighting the wave throughout the night.
You were in here bucketing it out every hour?
Yes, I have to, otherwise it goes up too quick.
The bucketing saved the shop. It's remaining open and locals are walking in on foot. They're bringing their bikes, even their mobility scooters, to make sure they can get supplies. The Prime Minister promising the chequebook would remain open for all communities battling floods following yesterday's disaster payment announcement.
My government stands ready to provide whatever support is requested.
The Premier pledging $165 million for roads across the state pulled apart with potholes, while $150 million will go towards the massive clean-up looming once the floodwaters disappear.
This is an initial amount of money and it'll underpin those emergency repairs.
A police public order response team on their way to Kerrang, helping prepare for impact from the Murray River. The Goulburn has already sent fish swimming down Shepparton streets. A huge carp caught by hand at Mooroopna.
Give us a squeeze.
God, mate, he's a big boy.
What the
For now, many have nowhere to go, marooned in their homes.
So what can you see from up there?
A lot of water.
Penelope Leash, 9 News.
If we look at Echuca now, and residents there are racing to protect their property against the surging Murray, which is expected to peak in 2 days' time. Lana Murphy is east of town and joins me now. Lana, they're building a levee wall there.
Alicia, forecasters say it is inevitable the Murray River will rise. The question is how high and how do they stop it getting into town? Well, local council says this is the answer. I'm standing here not far from the banks of the Murray where it's already seeped close to the street. This is where local contractors are helping to build a 2.5 kilometre levee wall using soil. On one side of the street there are some homes a little further up that have been deemed simply too close to the water to try and save, but the idea is that this will help protect the rest of town. The problem is they only have less than 48 hours to get the job done. This isn't just a race against the clock, it's against the tide.
What a little trooper!
And in Echuca Moama, age is no barrier to pitching in.
What are you doing here today?
Oh, sandbagging. Lots of people are going under and we want to try and help them stay safe.
Those living by the Campaspe River are already swamped, their homes and possessions swallowed by what's normally considered the Murray's smaller sibling.
It's just coming from every angle.
The water's broken its banks and crept hundreds of metres into front and backyards. Many have no choice but to leave.
Then the water's going to come from the Murray, from the sky, from the river. And yes, we know we're going to be inundated.
John Lachlan only moved into his dream home 2 months ago.
We thought 2011 floods, I thought we'll be right for probably 89 years, but this is where we are.
Now, like everyone here, he's hoping for the best, but expecting the worst.
Get stuff up as high as we can over the next few days as we expect it to keep going up. So I'm not sure I'll be able to keep it out, but I'm doing what I can.
For some, that means recruiting an army of volunteers and working until 4 a.m.
We stayed all night, did tag teams. And we've beaten it. We've got it out. We've kept it out of our kitchen and our toilets.
The balcony at the back of Brett Thompson's restaurant in the port of Echuca normally sits 15 metres above the river. Beside him, locals and the ADF have built another line of defence, but his home in the east is too close to try and save.
And we're walking away from our house.
On edge, nervous residents gathered, hoping for any good news. Instead, they were told,
"We're heading for an event that this town has not seen before."
We're talking a possible of a 1 in 1,000 event, so we just don't know. We really don't know where it's going to go.
The town's historic paddle steamers are already floating at ground level, rising 2 stories to the edge of the port. So the only direction this water has to flow is outwards. Echuca is bordered by 3 rivers, the Murray, the Campaspe and the Goulburn. 2 have already broken their banks. The next problem is the Murray. It's currently sitting at 94.2 metres AHD, well above 2011's water level and nearing the heights of the last major floods in 1993 and 1973. Authorities predict rain on Wednesday will force the river to rise to 96 metres, which will surpass anything in history.
More panic now than that one back in 93.
But even with the seemingly endless lines to pick up sandbags, schools and streets closed, you can't drown out the country spirit. Armies of volunteers of all ages and on both sides of the border simply have not stopped.
How do you keep going?
Energy.
Better than being at school?
Yes, definitely.
It seems on the river.
You just have to roll with it.
In Echuca, Lana Murphy, 9 News.
It's been another day of heartbreak in Rochester where the community is assessing the damage and beginning that mammoth clean-up effort. Elizabeth Moss is there for us tonight. Lizzie, business owners there are devastated.
Absolutely, Alicia, and it's not hard to see why. We're at the holiday park at the moment. Behind me here, these would have been the powered sites where caravans usually are. Then over my other shoulder, the camp kitchen. That is essentially an island in the Campaspe River at the moment. The SES say at this stage, the indication is about 85% of the township has been inundated. Locals say they have a very small window to get in and start cleaning this up. The rain stopped, but Rochester is still nervously on high alert. This is inside the IGA. Butter, meat, ice cream. Almost everything is soaked. The shelves and freezers have to be stripped of stock.
It's just devastating. Whole family's been here 100 plus years.
Trolley by trolley of spoiled food, a never-ending parade to the car park. In more than 60 years of business, it's left the Major family almost lost for words.
There's not a business in town that hasn't been smashed.
The water now receded from some houses, but residents are only just getting inside. For Jenny Herbert, it's too much.
It's just overwhelming for me.
The great-grandmother of 9 was recently diagnosed with cervical cancer.
I've just come back from Melbourne and I've got to deal with this. I'm trying to hold it together, but sometimes I can't do it.
Friends, family helping to clean her unit and the one next door. Just down the road, streets submerged. This recovery led by the locals.
We've set up our own incident control centre. We've got one each side of the bridge. Someone's got to get in and do it, and the sooner we can get in and do it and get carpets out and ensure that houses don't go mouldy, you know, that's really, really important.
One sentiment shared.
We want help, you know. Where's our governments?
We need outside help. The army, whoever, just needs outside help.
The contents of Michelle Gibson's Iddles Lane Emporium now in rubbish bags.
I have my business here, but I also have a house that is destroyed. That I've just spent, you know, $20,000 on garden for 12 years, haven't been able to afford it, now I've just done it all and it's all destroyed.
While many don't know what the future holds,
I don't know when we're going to get back. I really don't.
what they do know, they have each other.
I'm positive strong. I'll get there.
You are.
I'll get there.
Elizabeth Moss, 9 News.
Now, here in Shepparton, the message from authorities has been that the Goulburn River will remain at that major flood level for at least the next 4 to 5 days. So really that means some residents won't be able to get back to their properties for some time yet. Pete, I will have more live from Shepparton coming up later in the bulletin, and the Mayor is going to join me too.
OK, thank you so much, Alicia. Well, the dry weather isn't expected to last much longer, with more rain set to lash the state later this week. Lavinia's monitoring this next system. What does the latest forecast tell us, Lavinia?
Oh, Pete, the Bureau has slightly lowered rainfall totals for northern Victoria for Thursday, Friday and Saturday. The path of a low-pressure system is very difficult to pin down, but at this stage, the modelling has the heaviest rain sitting a little further north than first thought. However, it's likely to trigger thunderstorms and they could deliver isolated higher totals. Then another system is set to move in from the west late on Saturday, and the forecast rain on Sunday has been increased and it's likely to continue into next Monday. At this stage, Shepparton could receive up to 15 millimetres on Thursday and Friday, 10 on Saturday, but as much as 35 on Sunday. Similar totals for Echuca. The northeast is expected to be hardest hit by these next two systems, with the potential for more than 100 millimetres at Wodonga. And under the current circumstances, even modest totals can have a major impact on flood levels, Pete.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Lavinia. And ahead in Melbourne's 9 News, Medicare's $8 billion rip-off. Fraud and rorts have gone on for years, and it's taxpayers who are footing the bill. Plus, the $1 billion plan to rid Australia of domestic violence. And a stunning apology from a man who plans to run against Daniel Andrews next month.